Good morning. It is a joy to, in fact, I've had so much fun preaching at the Bluff. You guys are just a wonderful group, and I've had so much fun. It is always a joy, though, when my wife comes up and joins me. She's going to be with me over the next few weeks. Can I raise this up? I guess you're short anyway, so it kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
My wife has been just a great support help, as always. And she's, over the years, has joined me in messages, especially when it's a family topic, whenever we're talking about marriage or parenting or something. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to be doing 5 essential characteristics of a happy family. And we'll be picking, what we did is we chose 5 topics that we believed you could find in good, solid, happy families. And we'll be covering those this week.
Okay. Do you know get the shirt? Do you get it? Be happy. Thank you. Dave came up to me this morning and said, "Happy bugs." Like, come on. Okay, just making sure, because I won't wear it again if it's like that. Okay, so happy family. And by a happy family, what we mean is that there's healthy relationships within the family. We mean that there's minimal frustration within the group. And we mean that there's mutual satisfaction, that everyone in the family is happy.
Yeah, and so today we're going to start with our topic of time together. If you look at families that tend to be happier and have strong relationships, they spend a lot of time with each other. And there's a psalm we're going to use today. This is a great psalm. It's a prayer that is worthy of your refrigerator. It's a prayer worthy of your mirror at the house, or if you have a spot on the wall that you're wanting to put up some words, I think this would be I would make a case that this would be a great verse to put up in your house. It's Psalm chapter 90, verse 12. It says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom."
And anything worthwhile in life takes time. If you're going to learn how to play an instrument, it takes time. If you do woodworking, it takes time. If you're trying to build a relationship, it takes time. So our first point is that happy families know the value of time together. And time matters. If you want to pass on, if you want to influence someone, if you want to pass on your character, if you want to get to know someone really well, it's going to take time. It doesn't happen quickly. So teach us to number our days implies that time has value. If I give you some of my time, that's a big deal. We only have so much time. And there's a wisdom that every adult knows. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that time flies. Time is short. When I had my first baby, everyone was, all these older women come over and say, "Enjoy every moment, savor it, it goes so quickly." And you're like, yeah, I know. Well, a couple weeks ago, we were at the Boot Heel Youth Museum in Malden, and there's this one part where there's this big mirror. There's like this activity, and I'm standing there with my oldest 2 kids, and I look over at this mirror, and they're the same size. They're the same height that I am, and my third is just a couple inches behind. And I knew that time goes quickly, but I didn't know that time goes quickly. You know what I mean? And the older we get, the more we realize that time is precious and time is fleeting. People used to think that as we developed technology that we would have all of this free time. They thought that, dishwashers and washing machines and refrigerators and cars and riding lawnmowers, everything that we invented, that we added to our lives was going to save us all this time. We'd have all this free time. And in a way, it's true. Things are quicker. But what we've done is it used to be that I would maybe take all my daughters out and we'd spend a day doing the laundry together, and it would be a together thing. And it's become now a solo task where just one of us is doing the laundry. And then I take all that free time that I saved and I don't give it then to my family. I don't give it to my relationships. I'm on my more technology, aren't I? I'm on my phone or I'm on the television, and we tend to squander all that free time that we thought that we would have. We forget that time is our most precious commodity and that we can never get more than what we have right now.
Yeah, and so we want every family in here to really value your time together. And I'd like to just go through the spectrum here and just challenge whatever stage of life that you're in to realize that relationships leak. And you have to invest a lot of time in each other. If you are young, a young adult, you're a bachelor, you're not married yet, whether you're still under your parents' house or you've moved out, wherever you are, if you're in that young stage, I want to challenge you to spend more time right now with your parents and more time with your grandparents and your siblings. I promise you that in 20 years, you won't know where your high school and college friends are. You won't know what's going on in their lives, but you will want to have a strong relationship with your family. In fact, I promise you will never sit back one day and think to yourself, man, I wish I didn't spend so much time with Mom. You will never think that, but you might think the reverse. Spend time with your family. If you're newly married and you don't have kids yet, you're in a precious time. This is a good time right there. And even if you pass the time of childbearing, it's just you and a spouse, I want to challenge you, do something. Take hold of that time together. Have a date night. I messed up last week. Rachel always corrects me whenever I say it wrong in a message. And she said that I said Subway and I meant Sonic. Sonic has half-price burgers on Tuesday night, not Subway. Yeah, find a place, do something, do a date night. Find a time when you can just be with each other. Do some board game nights together. Do something and spend a lot of time with each other. Invest in your future with an extreme amount of time that you value. If you have young children in your house, we live in a world that yanks families away and even says that it's bigoted or sexist to try to say something different. But I just challenge every young mother in here. I know not everyone can, but I challenge you to consider being a stay-at-home mom, especially when your kids are young. Grab hold of that sacred time that you can have together. Or I know not everyone can do it, but I'd challenge you to consider being a homeschool mom. To just spend as much time with your family as you possibly can. If you're a father and you've got a young daughter, why don't you take her out on dates? I have a friend that does that. He takes his daughters on dates each month. He opens doors, pulls back chairs, and teaches her what she's going to be looking for someday in a man. I've taken my daughters on a few dates, and they love it, and they can't get enough of it, and I haven't done that enough. If you have young adults in your house and they're involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, consider doing less. I was in everything. I was in football and basketball and golf and band. I was the guy on the field at halftime wearing my football uniform with a saxophone. I was the president of FFA. I did it all. I was a drama club and speech contests and everything. And looking back at my childhood, my favorite memories are the times whenever I was with my family. Do less and spend time together. I have a very good friend who passed away from cancer, but he had 2 daughters. And he had this idea. He didn't want to sit in the stands. This was his idea. He didn't want to sit in the stands and watch his girls on a field or on a court or on a floor. He wanted to be on the field or court or floor with them because he wanted that time together, not just watching. He wanted that experience. So when they were really young, he started talking to them about their interest. And he was looking for something that he could do with them. The oldest daughter wanted to do karate. So he started to take karate lessons with her. They started to break boards together, and they became black belts together. Isn't that cool? The second daughter wanted to learn how to do ballroom dancing. She grew up with Beauty and the Beast dancing, and she wanted to do this very formal, and so he danced with his girl. I went to his wedding when he gave his daughter away, and I watched them dance after they had spent years dancing together. It was the most beautiful father-daughter dance I've ever seen. If if you're an empty nester and those kids are gone, I'd like to challenge you. Why don't you do some traveling? Just go somewhere. Go somewhere crazy. Take your spouse on an adventure with you. Go to some Alaskan cruise. Spend time and reinvest in each other again. Reconnect. And if you're a grandparent, how many grandparents are in this room? I don't have to tell you anything because you already know how important time is. You already want that time, and you'll do whatever you can to get it because you know that time together is valuable. And that's what makes a family strong. Happy families not only value time, but we learn this, teach us, Lord, to number our days. Also teaches us that happy families plan time together.
If time together, if time together is a value, then you will make it happen. But a lot of times we miss how to make it happen. And we think that being busy, that planning activities, that's the key to family happiness. Every square on that calendar has to be filled with something, and that's going to make our family a happy family. We call that the FOMO, the fear of missing out, because we want to be out there and doing everything. And it's really good to plan time together. It's good to do things together. But it's also good sometimes to plan to do nothing together. Just plan a board game night or a stay-at-home movie night. I read to my kids a lot. Darren watches Star Trek with them, and I read to them. We kind of switch off nights. Mine are my favorite, his are his favorite. But I read to them, and so they'll all gather in my bedroom, and I have a daughter that sews. She'll bring her sewing, and my son will draw, and I have a couple of girls fixing each other's hair, and we'll just spend time together. I'll read a couple chapters, and we'll just kind of hang out. And those are very precious family times. They don't cost very much. They're not busy. But I think as we look back, those are some of our good memories, are the time that we spent together. Sometimes we think that we'll naturally fall into family time, but I think it's actually something, it's valuable, and it's worth us taking time to plan it. Even if you're planning, this is our day away from everyone, it's worth it to plan that. There's a verse, Psalm 103, 15 and 16 says, "The life of mortals is like grass. They flourish like a flower of the field. The wind blows over it, and it is gone, and its place remembers it no more." And that shows us again that life is fleeting. To us, our life is very important. It's this big deal. But if we look at God and eternity, our life is so short and so quick, and we need to grab that time while we can. So to number your days, first is to consider the speed of time and just realize that it goes quickly. It's also to consider the certainty of time lost. And what I mean by that is, if I have money and I stick it in a bank, I can choose to not spend it, and it will stay in the bank, and it will actually grow, and I'll end up having more money than I started with. Time is not like money. Time is going to go whether you're spending it wisely or whether you're spending it foolishly. All of our time is going. Every minute, we're losing a minute, and it's going. So to number your days is to consider the speed of time, to realize that we're going to lose that time that it's going. And it also implies that we should steer our days and not allow our days to steer us.
Yeah, now, I want to say something here about quality time versus quantity time. Has anyone ever looked at your calendar, honestly, and you had so many things going that you're like, I've got to put in some good quality time with the family at some point? Has anyone ever done that where you go, Monday, Tuesday, I have something this day, and you're going through, and like, well, a week and a half from now, I need a schedule. We just need to have some quality time. This is just the truth about how families function. You can't plan quality time. You just can't do it. All we can plan is quantity time, because you never know when quality time is going to show up. You just can't do it. Perfect example, Friday night we went to see Willy Wonka here at Three Rivers. We planned our time together, right? We're going to have some good time, and we're going to go see the show. Afterwards, we're going to eat ice cream. We planned this big night together as a family. We go out and do that, and as we're walking through the parking lot after the show, before the ice cream, my oldest son, Nadon, had turned his program into a puppet. And he's talking to our 3-year-old in the parking lot as we're walking through looking for cars, and he says, "Hello, Macario, I'm John." And Macario stops and looks at the puppet and says, "This is my mom, John, and this is my dad, John." And he starts to introduce his family to this paper puppet on my son's fingers, and all of us started to crack up. It was just funny as this 3-year-old is taking this puppet so seriously. And going, and who taught him to introduce us like this? Where did this come from? It was so adorable. You never know when your best memory is going to pop up. You can't plan that. All we can plan is quantity time together and see what shows up. We just have to spend a lot of time to each other because our most teachable moments come when we weren't expecting them. Our most memorable moments come when we were not expecting them. We can plan to have some good bonding time, though, and there are 3 times I think every single family ought to take hold of. First is your hellos. How you say hello will make your whole day. And families ought to greet each other with a lot of warmth, hugs, smiles, and kisses. If you have a rambunctious little child in the house, make sure you wake up early enough to snuggle with them before they get going. If you're going to see your husband off or your wife off to work, give her a good kiss before you leave. Also, make sure you say goodbyes really well. I've gotten to where I love leaving the house because my wife decided she was going to start sending me off right. And I feel like a king when I leave. She walks me to the door, she walks out and gives me a kiss and stands there and waves no matter how long I've been there or when I'll be leaving or how long I'll be gone. I love leaving the house because I know I'm loved. I do. I do.
And loves coming home, hopefully.
Of course. And how you eat together. Plan to do your meals together. Families that eat together tend to be very happy, strong, and successful. Eat supper together. No screens, no cell phones, no televisions. Put it all away. Force everyone to sit there. No, you're not excused yet. How was your day? Well, let me tell you what happened to me. Spend time together and value that time. Plan it.
Sometimes it doesn't feel important to eat dinner together, or we're just reading a chapter together, we're just playing a game. And so we kind of let, especially grown-ups, we let other things like, well, you know, business is calling, or I have things to do, and it's just this that we're doing. But relationships take time, and if we're going to build a relationship, whether it's with our children, whether it's with friends, whether it's with the other family, it's going to take time. It's going to take time together. And if it's worth it if we know time is valuable and it's worth it to plan this time, it's also worth it to protect that time. So happy families must protect their time together. And just because something is good for your family doesn't mean that it's the best for your family. And just because it's the best for your family right now doesn't mean that it's the best for your family a year from now or 2 years from now. It's this continual evaluation of what's good for your relationships, of what you need to do. Just one small example, several years ago, we were in this homeschool co-op, a classical conversations group. Fabulous group, wonderful people. It was a once a week thing, and we were really involved. We loved it, and they came to me and said, we want you to open a new campus close to your house. We want you to be the leader. And we looked at it, and it would be kind of like a part-time job, about that many hours. We looked at it, it was a great opportunity. And we looked at our children who were even younger then. We had all these little kids, and we thought, we We cannot do that. It is a good thing, but for us, it is not the best thing. And so instead of jumping into it more, we actually completely pulled out. Just because as we evaluated our life at that particular moment, the best thing for my children was to be home with them. It wasn't to get a little extra money. It wasn't to do that. It was to be with them. So I wanted to protect this time that I had with my children. There's another verse in Ecclesiastes 3. There's actually a song. I won't sing it, but there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. And then there's this huge list. There's a time to be born, there's a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot. It goes through so many, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, a time for peace. And it's just a reminder to us, kind of makes me think life just changes. What's good and what's best right now isn't going to be good and best later. There's a time for everything, but it's not always the time for everything. So we have to look at our life and decide what's best for us right now. My life tends to go in cycles, and it's probably not a healthy cycle, but I tend to have all this time, and I love to do things. I'm good at things, and I want to do them all. So I say yes. And then all of a sudden I realize that I'm super stressed, and I have so much to do. So then I start saying no until I get down to nothing, and then I start over. That's my cycle. But for my family, I've learned when I keep it to a minimum, I still want to be involved in things. God has given me gifts. I'm still a person. I don't have to put myself completely aside. But when I keep it to a minimum and I can invest in my kids while they're still young, they're still in the home, that's usually the happiest and healthiest for our situation.
Don't you hate when you lose time? We have time killers or time stealers. I used to have a backwards clock in my office. I found it at a magic shop, and it ran completely backwards. All the numbers were backwards, and it moved backwards. So it was the same thing, just in reverse. I'd have so much fun watching people come in the office, sit down, they'd be talking to me, they'd glance up at the clock, and then they'd freak out. Oh, what time is it? And they're like looking at their clock, trying to figure out, did I just miss something? I just loved that. Oh, man.
It's like lost hours.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, what just happened? Everything's cool. Every family needs to minimize the damage as best they can. In a world that's going to be yanking you apart, you have to learn how to say no. And you have to say yes to your family. When Rachel backs out of activities, I'm happier. Always. When I back out of activities, my whole family's happier. The less I do is usually the best. And I want to ask you just an honest question right now. How many nights home when you have nothing to do? How many nights like that makes your family the healthiest? And are you anywhere close to it? If not, you need to live healthy and make that happen. And not only do happy families need to protect their homes, but happy families should force themselves to enjoy their time together. And force yourself to enjoy it. Several years ago, I started studying the Sabbath day. And I was trying to figure out what the Jews did in the Old Testament on that Sabbath day. Because I never really understood. Were they just kind of sitting around praying all day long? Is that Sabbath day's rest? Is that what God intended? Were they sitting around and meditating? Was it, or were they just supposed to just veg all day long? Just be as lazy as possible. It's the Sabbath day. That's why we worked twice as hard yesterday. So today we would just lay around and do nothing. Was that the purpose? I'd read verses like, Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And I'm trying to figure out, so what did God want these Jews to grab hold of? What was this Sabbath day all about? And in my study, I finally went all the way back to the very beginning, when God rested on the seventh day. And I asked myself, what was he doing? What is this example that he's setting for us on the seventh day? And for me, I concluded, I think this seventh day was about enjoyment, where he created and created and created and created. It's good, it's good, it's good. Day 6, it's very good. And on day 7th, he rested and smiled over his creation. And he spent time to simply take pride and joy and experience the world he made. I believe that's the example for you and I. What good is it to work yourself to the bone if you never enjoy your life? And that was the message I got out of it. And so we started as a family, we called it Family Day. One day every week where we would spend time together and do nothing as far as work goes. We would just have fun. We worked twice as hard to get ready for it. We would spend the next day trying to make sure all of our stuff's ready so tomorrow we would just have fun, and it was so refreshing. We found out that Rachel's tendency, if she's at the house, is to start working, though.
Yes.
So we had to leave the house every week. And I started to realize just how good that was for our family. What good is it if there's a park or a zoo? What good is a waterfall or a store, or if we never go to these places, if we never enjoy them? And so we would force ourselves to leave the house and go do something today, something as a family, and it became our family's favorite day. We'd go and explore the city more than we realized. We'd start exploring the country, and our kids would look so forward to it. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 that says, "What do workers gain from their toil? I've seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He's made everything beautiful in its time. He's also set eternity in the hearts of humans. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there's nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God." Don't work yourself to the bone. Force yourself to enjoy your time together.
I've had many people over the years, especially as a homeschool mom. It is a little bit weird. I get it, I know. But so many people have said, I don't know if I could stand to be around my kids that much. I don't really like to be around my kids that much. It's more common than you would think. I always kind of want to say, well, that's probably your fault. But that just seems mean, so I don't say that. No, but for real, if you don't necessarily like to be around someone, sometimes if you make yourself be around them and you make yourself try to enjoy it, after a while you're going to find yourself actually wanting to be around them and actually for real enjoying it, especially when it's your family. The more that you're around them, the more you're going to know them and the better it is for your relationship. We've all looked forward so much to our family day, and the kids have loved it, I've loved it, and it's been really good for us because we've had to get to know each other really well. We have 6 kids from 15 down to 3. And within that, there's a lot of different likes, a lot of different preferences, a lot of different abilities. And it's forced us all to sacrifice a little bit here and there because we're not always all going to love everything that we do. But we love each other, and so we want to have everyone else to have a good time too. So it's been really good for us in a lot of ways to have this time where we're forced to be together out of the house doing something fun.
And this one verse, I know we're hammering it a lot here, but it is the key. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. What we learn from this verse is not that it's just wiser for us to grab hold of time, but that it should be the very thing we're asking God for. Lord, help us to grab hold of this life you gave us. Grab hold of it and to get the most out of it. Grab hold of your family. Grab hold of them and don't let go. Value them. Plan time to be with them. Protect it. Enjoy it, because it will be gone before you know it. We're going to move to a time of response here. And what Rachel and I would like to do today, for our time of response, if we could, I'd like to challenge you to pray together as a family. If your family's here and you'd like to just take someone aside, and your spouse or your kids, and just pray over them. Just pray and let them hear what you're praying. Pray the best for them. Pray for God to work powerfully in their lives. Don't try to change them in a prayer and try to rebuke them. But let them know how much you love them and what you desire for them in the Lord. If your family isn't here with you today and your family is far away, I'd like to invite you to come up and to just spend time praying for them. Pray for your kids. Pray for your parents. And pray that you don't let time slip away. As our musicians go ahead and come on up, I'll go ahead and get us started by saying a prayer right now. Lord, I thank you for today, and I thank you for my wife. I thank you for the blessing that she's been. And thank you for all the things that she's taught me. Thank you for the fact that she's shown me so much warmth and forgiveness at times when I probably deserved a cold shoulder. And Lord, I pray right now that you would allow us to really take hold of time together. We don't want our days to slip by. Lord, I pray that you'd teach me how to number my days. Give me a heart of wisdom. And Lord, I pray that our family would bring you honor and glory. It's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen. Let's all stand together. He's here. Just go ahead and grab them, huddle up somewhere, and just say a prayer for them while we worship our God.